Johnny Hedlund from Unleashed. Man, thank you so much for your time.
Good to see you guys, man. Good to see you guys.
How are you?
I'm all good.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's talk about your last album, The Hunt for the White Christ. I know it's a concept album, it's a sequel for the last 3 or 4 albums. Can you talk about since it's been a year, what's your retrospective on the album, and what's the concept behind the title and the songs and the lyrics?
Right. But it's been going really well. Like you said, it's a concept album, and going on for 4 albums now. And what we did is that many years ago I wrote the beginning to a book, like a story that's called The World of Odelheim. And I figured, since I probably never will finish the damn book, I never get the time. I mean, I really wanted to, but there's just no time. So I figured I'd take small chapters of the book and make them into songs. And so since it's about a future world of Odelheim that I call Odelheim, I figured it would be a smart idea to do that, and it worked out very well, actually. We started, and now it's the 4th album, and we probably will continue on the next album.
Nice.
So it's about the Midgard warriors and really in their struggle against White Christ, which is the opponent. And it's, people can say whatever they like about it, but I have only had really good response so far. And the thing with doing something like that is that nobody can really know what's going to happen. It's just me. And the only guy who knows it is me, obviously, because I wrote the book never got finished. But since I keep doing the albums and the lyrics to the albums, I can keep modifying things, I can keep doing small changes here and there, and nobody would know. If you write the book complete, then everybody knows from start to end, they know what it's going to be.
It's no surprise then,
Yeah, so now, when I start writing now, I keep writing for the next album, and I don't even know exactly what's going to happen. So it's kind of fun, it's a new challenge, after so many years.
So when you do the whole concept, like 8 albums or 7 albums, then you can write the book, like.
That's funny. I never got that question before, but you're right. I mean, exactly.
Because
you're right.
In the book you can write more details and all that, and maybe reference the song, which song is the soundtrack for the song. It'll be like this chapter you should listen to this song as a soundtrack.
That's true. That's actually true. Yeah, I never got that question before, but that's kind of what I'm thinking, because I never got the time in the past to do it all, because it takes too much time. But now I can go on till I'm fucking 65 years old and I can still go, And then finally I can complete it. That's true.
You can be the Viking Tolkien, so later.
We'll see. We'll see.
Nice, yeah.
That would be a challenge, but we'll see.
Okay. So the concept behind this 4 albums was pretty much like the world after Ragnarok in that Nordic age, the Viking age. So my question was always like we're listening to the songs and the lyrics. It's pretty much a reflection of the modern times, pretty much. Was like a reflection of modern times, actually.
Well, you're right in a way. What I've been thinking about, let's say intensely for the past 10, 15 years, is, I would say even longer back, maybe 20, 25 years, because I started this death metal thing with Unleashed to bring old Viking tradition into the present, and so that I could bring them forth to the future.
Yeah.
Now, there's more depth in that than most people might think of, because what it is that it is the past, the present, and the future. And I think that all tradition, it doesn't much matter which we talk about, but since I talk about the Viking tradition, obviously, then that's what I do. I get influences from the past, and I kind of work with them because of the future and things that happen in the future, and what I think is necessary to bring to the future, to our children in the future, and to a future society. And so the world of Odelheim is kind of a lot like that, but it's more of obviously it's a post-apocalyptic world. I mean, it's not really a very lightful world.
Yeah.
It's a world where things have already gone sideways, to be honest. And there's nothing saying that it won't go sideways. You know, we're in the middle of shit now. That's I think a lot of things are going to crash before we get a chance to do something about it. Maybe we're just constructed that way, that we don't want to do something about it. And then after chaos comes order. So let's hope that anyway. And I think, you know, that's what Odelheim kind of will be. It will be the chaos that will transform and transcend into order. And that's pretty much what I write about. And I do that in the Viking tradition way, obviously. You can do that probably in many other ways as well, but that's I use my tradition and where I come from to put that in perspective, so to speak.
So maybe the next album will be more about order, right? Or the continuation of the chaos.
Maybe it's a little too early for that.
No,
Let's see.
It's been a year, so
well, you know, we'll see. We'll see.
So about the Viking traditions. Today, Viking is pretty much being a Viking, listening to Viking music, watching Viking movies, series, The Vikings from History Channel. It's not pretty much a trend. It's pretty much everyone wants to be a Viking. But when you started like in '89 with Unleashed after Nihilist, what's the people's reaction from Scandinavia and further? Was there a reaction? What was like, wow, I can't believe it that they take people so long to connect long hairs and metal, you know? Or was the reaction like, just kind of odd, death metal?
You mean when we started Nihilist and all that?
After Nihilist.
After Nihilist?
Yeah.
Well, see, it's... The thing back then was that there wasn't so many people around. I mean, where we live. You know, shortly after Nihilist, I mean, there was like, I don't know, a few hundred people in Stockholm that would seriously get into death metal, wear a death metal patch, and you know, well, there weren't any patches, so you had to write the damn logo, you know. I had a Dismember logo on my back, you know, Macabre logo and Autopsy logo on my back because I had no patch, you know. So I would say, I don't know if the reactions was that lively. I mean, we were so small, the scene was so small that it was just, well, it exploded a few years later, but it was so small back then that I don't think there was so many reactions from other people, other than the obvious bullshit, you know, at work. Somebody, you know, everybody would say, that stuff that you play will never hit the road, never. And, well, not even that, you will never get money to finance an LP. Never, not gonna happen. You're delusional. You're in space. That's what everybody told us. And I'm sure that's what everybody told, like Necrophobic and Morbid Angel and all those bands, you know, and Autopsy and Bolt Thrower. We all got that crap, you know. Yeah. So I guess that's the reaction, you know, I would say. But we didn't give a rat's ass, you know. We believed in what we did, you know. And I think we had a message too. And we loved the music, and we loved well, most of all, we knew we were a metal family. And it didn't matter if I go to fucking Chile or fucking Florida or Russia, or I could go anywhere in the world. There would still be family around. And that's something, man. That's something. That's something that it's worthy of repeating like a million times, because a lot of other people don't have that, man. I see that all the time in Sweden, and it doesn't matter where I come, you know. A lot of people don't have that type of family. They have mother and cousin and father, and you know, and they have that, obviously, but they don't have this family. They can't call somebody up in fucking Holland tomorrow and say, hey, you want to meet up for a beer? Heck, I'm coming over, man. You know, they can't do that. Yeah. And that's something that's really, really strong, I would say. Really strong.
I watched your interview on Face Culture from 2008 about political situation in Sweden. Has it changed a bit? Or is it the same shit like 10 years ago?
You mean which?
On Face Culture interview about the political situation in Sweden. On Face Culture channel on YouTube. You talked about political situation in Sweden in 2008. About you weren't happy about the situation like 20 years ago was better than now. Has it stayed the same like then, or?
You mean the scene like in as it is?
I mean the living there, you know.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, living where we live is not really bad. at all. You know, I can't say that. It's changed.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed. Well, it has changed a lot in some ways, but in some ways not. It's a different country now, much different. It's not like it was before. But I think that's the same in so many countries in the world. I think we're living in a brand different world now. There's nothing like it, and I think it probably will come to some kind of not so nice chaos. It will. It doesn't matter if you live in the United States or if you live in Sweden, Germany, whatever. It's gonna be the same.
Yeah.
But you can go to Austria. It's gonna be the same. So we will have to deal with that. It's gonna take some time, and it's gonna be, again, hopefully after chaos comes order. I mean, you know, that's the hope. But I don't think it's Sweden is not really a bad place to be. It's a good place to live. But I would say that's because of what happened many years ago. It's just things are strong now because what happens before. If you want things to be strong in the future, you have to do right now. You have to be good now. You have to do good things, do a lot of work. But that doesn't really happen. So.
Speaking of like good places to live, like Sweden or UK, but like those were countries that pretty much not even the metal, but they improved metal, not just metal, punk scene, rock scene, the UK, Sweden, which also they have a good standard of living, but very like rebellious nature, not just in music, but in culture in general. What do you think? What was the mentality in Sweden or UK? What brought you to like go from punk to be like fuck you to the system and all that? What was the mentality?
Oh, I think that. Well, that's kind of easy. In the end of the 80s, I would say, because that's when I started playing bass. Well, I started a little earlier, like in the early 80s, obviously, because that's when I started listening to like punk and hardcore stuff. But also then came the metal scene, and you got the thrash movement and all that. But generally in Sweden, I mean, any country that is really kind of locked in has its problems, because as soon as there comes an influence that is strong enough to survive on itself, which the metal scene is, then the society keeps throwing darts at that, you know. And I guess that's what we felt back then. It isn't so much that we weren't free people. We were free people, obviously. We could do whatever we liked. But, you know, I had friends in Germany at that time who could see bands all the time. We couldn't. Nobody came to Sweden, you know.
So you formed bands, actually.
I mean, I love bands, and I would love to see them, but they never came to Sweden. Yeah. So we started to realize what happens down there. You know, why doesn't everybody come to Sweden? We had to create stuff ourselves. Yeah, exactly. We had to create a scene. God damn it, we can't just sit around. So a lot of that was something that we realized we had to do. But also, you know, it's also a question of what happens in school back then. You know, I can't say we were that oppressed or anything, but the mental lid on people, that was terrible. I mean, I can go to I was in Berlin. What is this? 2 years ago, and watched the East German Museum. And you could see the things that Stasi did and so forth. And I thought, damn, this is Sweden. This is my childhood, goddamn.
Really?
What? And then I come to the next thing, and that was my again. And then the next, hey, that's me. That's my child. Exactly. And that was a scary thing to see. So you think about that, and you realize that yes, it was pretty good in Sweden, but if you started to realize that how boxed in we were, I mean, like boxed in from the world, you know, that's scary shit, man. And it goes on from food to music to other people's opinions, and I mean, like, you know. But again, that was the 70s and the 80s, you know. it's hard to criticize something that long ago because it doesn't matter that much today. But it was a scary thing to see, because that when we realized that, oh, they have a museum for that in Berlin. Hell, that was my everyday life, for fuck's sakes, and I lived in Sweden, you know. That's funny shit.
So that pretty much created the catalyst for punk, for metal, pretty much like I won't do what you want, you know, to think or whatever.
Yeah, obviously, you have to rebel somewhere, you know, at some point you have to rebel, you know.
Of course, yeah. Okay, last question. Since it's 30 years of Wacken, which is not a small figure at all, what is your opinion, why metal in general, like, that exists underground, above ground, what do you think the main factor of its perseverance, of its longevity? What's the main factor? What do you think?
Why Unleashed is?
Not metal in general.
Just metal in general.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you can mention Unleashed, of course.
Well, but it's a good question. It's if you look at, well, you can't really answer a question like that, like saying it's something that happens today or even 10 years ago. Then you can't really go as far as 30 years ago, because it's going to be irrelevant. Everything starts at some place.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about that, but it's such a vast question, and there's so many things that would have to add to the answer, you know what I'm saying? You could start with saying, like, okay, what about rhythm and blues? You go that far? You want to go that far?
Yeah.
How about gospel? I don't like gospel, but you know, how about rhythm and blues? You started some cotton field and whatever, where somebody would sing against the slavery or whatever. That's some kind of rebellion against the master. And I think rock music, always, it doesn't matter if it's Elvis Presley, Muddy Waters, Chuck Berry, Metallica, you know, Necrophobic, Unleashed, any of those bands in that spectrum, from rock, rhythm and blues, rock and roll, up to black metal, there's always a rebellion against something. And not just music, but also in the lyrics. There's always a rebellion. And I think that rebellion, it doesn't have to be the same for every band. On the contrary, I think that's what's beautiful with the metal scene, is that there are so many different bands and so many different topics that rebel against something. Obviously, a lot of bands sing about things that are it could be good, beautiful, or fantastic, or whatever. But it's always some kind of rebellion against something, and I think that's one of the core things that brings metal together. And obviously now it's more of a country, you know. It's not just a community; it's a fucking, you know, it's a country. So, and we should be so happy. And I know it's gonna continue. But I will say something though to just to end that. It's in my heart. We need to fucking bring our children to metal shows. I mean, anybody who wants to listen to this, and just, I'm telling you, we have to bring our children to metal shows. I don't give a fuck if they're 8 years old, 6 years old, 14 years old. It doesn't matter. It's a hassle. I know that. But what if the hassle isn't there? What if it's easier not to? Of course. But look at how we started. We were pretty young when we started. It's not as easy today to start, because you have TV games and you have computer, whatever the fuck, you know. We have more competition, but we have to bring our children into the metal family, because it's the best family on the planet Earth. So we have to do that.
Very nicely said. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you. It was good talking.
Same.